Okay, hi everyone. Someone was asking me how to do completing the square level 2 and 3. So we're doing level 2 and 3. So let's give ourselves an easy example for a number of a level 2. We go x squared plus 5x plus 6. And when we're saying level 2, it's because this is an odd number. And when we have an odd number, because we're dividing it by 2 to complete the square, let's look at an example of completing the square. Level 1, x squared plus 4x plus 6. When I complete the square, we always divide the middle by 2. X plus 2. Now, x times x is x squared, 2x plus 2x is 4x, and then 2 times 2 is, we need a perfect c value plus 4 in the back. If I add 4, I need to remember to minus 4 to balance out the equation. This last section here, these values here, right, all these guys here, these guys combine together. And we end up with a plus 2. That's for level 1, and that's pretty easy because for level 1 problems, the middle value right here, the middle value 4 can be divided by 2 easily to complete the square, to get that perfect square. But over here, if you look over here, that's a 5. And 5 divided by 2 isn't going to be nice. We could write 5 divided by 2 is 2.5. 5 divided by 2 is 2.5. But when we square it, it's going to be a lot easier to square 5 over 2 than it is to square 2.5, which I think is 6.25. 2.5 times 2.5. And remember, when you're multiplying 2 decimals, you have to carry 2 decimals. And this is going to be a lot more work for us. So that's why we don't do it. So we prefer definitely this guy a lot more. Okay, so let's go ahead and complete the square. The way we do it is we, like what we did on the other side, we say x plus 5 over 2 because we divided the middle by 2. That's our goal. Now the perfect c I wish I had is going to be a little funny, but you know what? To get a perfect square for 5 over 2, it's going to be decimal. And instead of writing the decimal, 6.25, we're just going to write 25 plus 25 over 4. And if I add 25 over, I need to remember to minus 25 over 4. Now if you do this a couple of times, it might first start to seem a little daunting, might be a little hard, but you do this 2-3 times and it actually becomes, the rhythm comes out. And we have to somehow combine our value 6 here, our value 6 here with the 25 over 4. And we're going to do that by changing this guy, our 6, to a decimal, to a fraction. A common denominator, 4 over 4, gives us our common denominator, 24 over 4. Again, we're just making change because 24 over 4 is still the same as the number 6. Right? 24 over 4 is the same as 6. You're just making change. So this whole thing here becomes 24 over 4. Okay. Now we can combine our values. We can combine this way now, right? We can combine this way. Whatever. And we're going to end up with negative 25 minus 24 is negative 1 over 4. And this helps us. So now that we're completed the square, we're finished. We can say the vertex is negative 5 over 2, comma, negative 1 over 4. And this number, we find the opposite value to make that go to 0. And we end up with a negative, y has to be negative 4 if that's true. Okay. That's level 2. So I highly recommend you do the same exact problem again by yourself, and you can double check your work. You can pause the video and double check your work. Now let's talk about level 3 now. Level 3 goes, let's give ourselves an example. Y is equal to 3x squared plus 6x plus, let's say, it doesn't matter, let's say 5. Okay? And so our big deal is that we have two things that we have to worry about, which is the 3 now, which remember we didn't have that in front. We didn't have that before in our last problem. And that's what makes this a level 3 problem. And so we're going to go ahead and take out that 3 by factoring it out. We factor out a common 3. We factor out the common 3 from the front and the back value. We're going to factor it out. So 3 divided by 3 is 1x squared, and 6 divided by 3 is 2x. Now you can double check that real quick. If I say 3 times x squared is the 3x squared we wanted, and 3 times 2x is the 6x we wanted. Okay, so we're not changing the value, we're changing the way it looks so that we can complete the square. Now that we're done with the front, we're going to write plus 5 in the back. The reason why I normally don't factor out the 3 from the 5 is because if I divide the 3 from the 5, I would end up with 5 over 3. And do you really want a fraction here? I don't think so. We're done with fractions. Okay? And we're going to go ahead and if you look here, if I cover this up right here now, if I see this 3 here, if I cover it up, doesn't the rest of the problem look like a level 1 problem like before over here? Just like over here, the level 1 problem over here, where the middle term is even. And sometimes we get that. So let's go ahead and use that. And we're just going to go ahead and complete the square now. Now is when we complete the square. At this step here is when we complete the square. At this step here, we weren't completing the square. Right here, we were just setting up. This was all set up. This is all set up. This is not completing the square. This is the setup is just to factor out your a value. Okay, let's go ahead and complete the square. We divide the middle by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. See, we wrote that square, so now this is a nice perfect square. See, this is a nice perfect square here. And what's a perfect C I wish I had? 1 times 1 is plus 1. If I add 1, I minus 1. Now if you notice, I write all of this stuff inside the parentheses. I write this all in the parentheses here. I write that all in the parentheses. And the reason why I do that is because we factored out the 3 from the problem. Now whatever happens inside the problem is still going to be multiplied by this 3. So we have x squared plus 2x plus 1. This whole thing here is my perfect square. And we have leftovers, this negative 1 here that we have to get rid of. So let's kick it out. If I kick it out, it can multiply by the 5. Oh, you can add to the 5. So here we go. We say negative 3, let me change this color. Negative 3 times a negative 1 kicks it out to become a negative 3 on the outside. And now if you look here, we can combine these two right here. We can combine those, just like what we did before. Just like what we did way back here, or like what we did way over here. We just combine those last values. Okay, here we go. We're going to say that's going to be plus 2. So the vertex is negative 1, comma 2. So the vertex form for us is a really nice form. Is y is equal to a x minus h squared plus k, where our h and k value, this is going to be our x and our y value for the vertex. And this is how fast our parabola changes. Okay. All right, hopefully that you found that helpful. Tell me if you need more examples.